you eat non-organic meat, you're likely consuming antibiotics, and the food
Yeah.
industry finds very clever ways to sneak them in no matter what. One particular example that I want to point out is when you see all natural label on meats, okay, the definition of all natural means that from the moment the animal dies, they did not add anything to that meat. But until the animal dies, they can feed that animal any amount of antibiotics,
Hmm.
and that's okay. You can still call it all natural. And so that tricks people into thinking they're consuming healthy food, right?
Hmm.
So antibiotics found in foods, and then preservatives. You have your sodium metabisulfite, you have your potassium sorbate, and uh, others, and then you have detergents. Polysorbate 80, for example. If you put creamer in your coffee, that creamer likely has a detergent in it to prevent it from separating. And so they put detergents in so many foods to prevent separation of fats from water. But these detergents can strip your gut lining and cause a leaky gut and cause all kinds of immune reactions. And so those are all examples of why we have this huge mixture where people no longer have the fully wild microbiome that's adapted to their environment. Yeah. And so now we have to find very creative ways to recommend foods to those people. And still, with some people, like the example I gave you, when we find no oxalate pathways active,
Hmm.
and we find that that person has no microorganism that even encodes oxalate processing genes, there's nothing you can do about it. You basically cannot consume much oxalates basically for the rest of your life unless you
Hmm.
somehow acquire that microorganism, which is unlikely in today's sterile life.
Interesting. And so that kind of brings me to another question I wanted to ask you. What is your general take on using dietary changes to facilitate changes in your microbiome versus taking things like probiotics that contain specific species?
Well, those two are complementary, and I think that many people have plenty of lactobacilli and plenty of bifidobacteria and plenty of streptococcus, and so they don't really have a need for much of those. Um, and you can just feed those existing microorganisms and they'll be there for you. If you lack some of those, you can reintroduce them with those probiotics that are available. Now we even have live Akkermansia as a probiotic and some other ones. And I hope that more and more companies bring more and more strains of probiotics with more functions to the market so that people can rewild their microbiome. I am very certain that one day we will know all of the microbial functions that are needed for our healthy body, and that all of the probiotics that have those functions will be available commercially, so that at any given time in your life, you can always at least rewild your microbiome to the point where it has all necessary components for healthy life. And then you just have to feed it the specific foods that your microbiome needs in order to produce those beneficial chemicals, but not produce harmful chemicals. And that's really the trick. It's the contrast between, the microbes don't have a clue as to what's good for you and what's bad for you.